So I got my start in public service right after college. I did an AmeriCorps program called Public Allies for 10 months, and I was placed at a nonprofit agency in East Los Angeles in an area known as Boyle Heights. And I basically did youth development work with at-risk youth in one particular community there. It was supposed to last 10 months and ended up staying for 4 years.
My passion for public interest started before law school, before middle school, before, during life, growing up in East LA as one of 7 kids, just witnessing a lot of bad things happening to our family. So I know what it's like to feel hopeless and wronged, and so I knew I wanted to be a lawyer to help people like that.
Prior to going to law school, I started volunteering with my local YMCA. I became really involved in a high school program called California YMCA Youth in Government. And within a couple of years, I took over the delegation out of San Pedro, which is my hometown. This is a group of high school students that ranges anywhere from 100 to 150 from year to year. And we work with them to teach them how the government works. And every February, we go to Sacramento where we model the actual legislature and court system. Through that program, I became more interested in doing volunteer work in general, serving my community, and I ultimately decided that I wanted to pursue my dreams of going to law school.
I think growing up with a disability definitely affected my perception of how I view the world and how I treat people and how I treat myself. And in college, that's really when I began engaging in disability activism. I founded Power to Act Abilities Coming Together at a student organization that creates safe spaces for students with hidden and visible disabilities.
Probably my experience with domestic violence. I was in several physically, emotionally abusive relationships in my past, and seeing what it did to me and seeing how far I was able to come once I was out of those toxic relationships, I saw that I could do that for other victims, and it made me want to do everything that I could to help people when they were able to get out of those relationships.
So one of the things that I loved about being a teacher and that I love continuing to do as I work with youth in law school is just the vibrancy of youth, the potential that they have, and I really like being able to work with them to bring out their talents and to bring out their successes and to support them in that.
I remember the first client that I represented in court as a certified law student, and she was a victim of domestic violence. And I helped her get a restraining order against her abuser. The best part of it, we were sitting in court and waiting for the judge's ruling. As we started hearing the judge's ruling, I saw the smile on her face and how relieved she was after we got out of court, and so appreciative and excited, and I just knew that I made her life better.
The gratification that you get knowing that you made a difference in just one person's life, and that's really all we can do as human beings and as lawyers, is just help one person, get through their struggle.
I think graduating law school, I think seeing my mom out in the audience as I walked down the stage and seeing her happy and proud is probably my greatest accomplishment. My mom has sacrificed tremendously throughout my life, and at times it doesn't seem like that in the moment, but you reflect back and I think of everything she's done for me. It's incredible to see that a woman with a third-grade education came to the US, worked the farm fields, was able to raise children, and was able to support me through law school, through 2 masters, and through my BA. I think it's just an incredible accomplishment for herself and for the family.
My proudest accomplishment to date is the fact that the core group of kids that I started with when I started at Legacy, we had, when I left, the largest number of kids going off to college in sort of like the history of the organization.
I think it's definitely helping those students at Mission High School apply and prepare for college. I read so many personal statements, but they all had the same ingredient of grit.
The most recent one is I just was selected for publication on Southwestern's Law Review. That was especially important to me because the paper that I wrote has to do with how mentally disabled people are treated in the workplace and their right to remain employed after they may have conduct related to disability that has caused them to be terminated. And it's a really, in particular, important topic to me because I have family members with mental disabilities. And I felt that it was such a huge accomplishment because my daughter was born on March 8th and my paper was due on March 20th. So in those final months of editing and getting everything ready to submit, I was very pregnant and had my second child. And so when I was selected for publication and received a publication award, it was really special and meaningful to me.
So I first received an email through UCLA about the Rule of Law competition, and on the same day I actually watched a video of President Obama announcing his nomination for the Supreme Court position, and Chief Judge Merrick Garland discussed the Rule of Law in his nomination speech. So I thought it was really interesting, and interesting that the rule of law isn't necessarily an antiquated concept, but that it's very modern and often brought up in these very recent discussions.
Can you hear me now? Court interpreters for California civil cases. It's absolutely in need, and before they would just have to come up with their own interpreters or have a friend interpret in some cases, and it was not effective. And all criminal defendants, they have the right to that, but just now all civil litigants will have that right as well.
The title of my Rule of Law competition submission is The Rule of Law in the Media, and it discusses the constitutional tensions between promoting open access to the courts for journalists, but also protecting the defendant's right to a fair trial.
My paper is about, first of all, talking about the common law and statutory implications of euthanasia and physician-assisted suicide. And I'm proposing in my paper that it would be most effective to have specialized healthcare courts who have a certain expertise in this field to be able to answer very difficult questions that have essentially life and death implications.
I plan to work on a fellowship with Equal Justice Works, fingers crossed. I would like to work with college-age students who are first generation or immigrant status. I'd like to teach them what sexual assault is, what domestic violence is, and about their rights. I think that if we can make a change in someone's life early on, we can influence them for years to come and in their children as well. So starting young means ending early.
I spent the last summer at the ACLU of Southern California working in the Education Rights Division, and I'm working for the U.S. Department of Education this summer in D.C. And so I'm interested in working within the realm of education, and particularly on impact litigation or on enforcement of federal legislation.
I have the opportunity to work this summer at an amazing firm called Kay Scholler in Century City, and next year I'm going to be doing the Juvenile Justice Clinic on campus, and that's going to be really great because my prior experience with at-risk youth has been more, like I said, leadership development, academic support resources and things like that. But this will be really taking my passion for youth development and my passion for sort of criminal justice reform and blending those two together.
Thank you to the Beverly Hills Bar Association.
I could not get through law school without the help of people like you.
I really, again, cannot thank them enough for giving me this opportunity and really taking the time to interview me and get to know me as an applicant.
And I really appreciate you believing in me and you investing in my future.